Hello, everyone. Welcome to the JS Online and Packers News pregame show. I am Tom Silverstein, and this is not Leroy Butler, but equally as impressive athlete is
What
Pete
a what a
Dougherty
great disappointment for all the viewers.
Pete,
What can I say? They're stuck with me tonight.
I would say you got a better chance of making a Lambeau leap than Leroy does in this
That
day
might
and
be.
age. Well, it's good to have you anyway. Leroy is somewhere around the stadium doing something today, and we never know what he's going to be up to. Um, but it's good to have you. And this is a Monday night game that, you know, early in the season, there's never such thing as a must win, but this is a must play well, isn't it?
It is. God, I have the stat written down in my notebook, which I don't have out right now, but they're watching the game Sunday night. They had a stat where teams that start 0-2, their chances of making the playoffs are, pretty low. I think it's less than 20%. I can dig it out here if you want me to, but it was low.
Yeah.
So
with an asterisk that was not the NFC North.
Yeah, 0-1 and tied for first place last week. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, I saw a stat that Rodgers is 8-1 on Monday nights at Lambeau, and I don't know if that means anything, but I think coming back and after the offensive showing they had last week, you can't think but they're going to have to just do something tonight. I mean, otherwise, boy, what does that say about them?
Yeah, and Rodgers' record after having bad games. Yeah, the Monday night thing, I agree with you. At Lambeau, I mean, what difference is that? Doesn't mean anything. But his record after losses and after bad losses has been pretty good, and his passer rating's really high if you put all those games together. So historically, he has played very well after such a poor showing, but doesn't mean history will repeat itself. I picked the Packers. I'm trying to remember what your score was. I said 34-17, I think, and that was dumb. I should have gone like 34-24 at least, because I'm just not sure the Packers defense is, going to get many stops.
Yeah, I'm really curious. I'm really curious to see how they play on defense. I don't think we really know anything about them yet. And I'm also curious to see if they made any adjustments in the secondary, with King, whether they are giving Eric Stokes a little bit more time, how they're going to use Rashawn Gary. Are they going to, run him around like they did Zadarius Smith? Or are they going to do that with Preston Smith? Or are they going to play it straight up? I don't know what to really expect from these guys. And I suspect it's going to be a couple of weeks before we know what to expect.
Yeah, and I mean, you got to cut some slack to the new coordinator to get to know his players. Now, he does have a staff full of guys that coached all these guys for the past couple of years, but he still is just getting to learn himself. Now, that does not account for 38 last week. I mean, that alone, there's no way. It was just a really horrendous performance too. But you would think they got to make some changes. They got to try some new things, find out what works. You got to get your most talented guys out there. And, when Stokes was out there, he broke up that pass or kind of broke up that pass on third down. If it hadn't been broken up, he'd have made the tackle. This is in the first half. He'd have made the tackle, 5 yards short of the first down. He's a talented guy. Yeah, he's a rookie. He'll take his lumps. But, I think they got to get him out there in some way, shape, or form, which obviously you wrote about last week.
Yeah, it's if there's a must play well game, it's probably on Kevin King because he didn't play well in the opener and didn't play well in the NFC Championship game, and they got a first round pick sitting there waiting to play behind him. But I think it's smart. You got to give the guy a little bit of slack. He just came back. He's missing most of camp. We'll see if he can kind of get his game back together. So offensively, if I'm Detroit, I'm thinking they're going to run the ball the first 20 times in a game. You get that gut feeling as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's just their whole performance last week is screaming out, run, run, run. Play Dylan more, get him and Jones a lot of touches. So maybe the smart call would be to come out and throw a boot on the first play, or maybe even try a deep shot. But but overall, they've got to just they need to establish that run. Rodgers needs it. When he was, if this is 2015 or 16, remember all the plays he made on the move that year. He's not the athlete he was then. They can't rely on that. And he's good from the pocket. And when they run the ball well, teams have to bring that other safety up, and then that changes everything in the passing game. So running it and sticking with it is huge. Watching Baltimore last night, they kept running it. Now they have an uncommon weapon with that quarterback, but I just think the Packers are going to they need to play more like San Francisco than like the Saints last year, the Saints under Drew Brees, for instance.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they can be the team they were last week. And I'm just talking about, the breakdown and the actual determination to run it, because they didn't have any. I thought it was interesting that they kept brought up Equanimeous St. Brown from the practice squad this week. And I think, I actually watch him a lot because I'm kind of intrigued by what kind of player he was. And I thought there was even though he was injured, I thought they might keep him on the 53, but he was making some pretty impressive catches in practice. And I wonder if that has something to do with it. And the other thing I wondered was, are they thinking, well, they're going to run it, so let's have another big receiver who can block, in the lineup.
That could be. I wonder if we'll see him and Lazard out there together. Two big guys to block. I don't know if that's why maybe Cobb didn't play a lot last week, because they had planned on running the ball and didn't think he would be, the run blocker they'd want there.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of snaps to split up among wide receivers. Now, Deguara's out, and he's considered a little bit of a receiver, so maybe that's why they went with St. Brown. But with all those receivers now, maybe you think, well, they're just going to throw it all over the place. I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, and you never know what their game plan is for any given week. But like you said to start with, I mean, this just screams out, run, run, run.
Okay. So as far as the Lions, what do you expect to see from their run game? So we got Jamal Williams coming back, and I mean, his limitations. He's a tough between the tackles runner, good blitz pickup guy, but he's not going to rush for 170 yards. I mean, they got DeAndre Swift. What do you think that's running game is going to look like?
Yeah, I don't have a real good feel for Detroit with the new coach and the new system. I remember last year talking to some scouts, a couple of scouts, just asked them about different running backs in the league. And, one of the guys I talked to was pretty high on Swift, but he really hasn't been as productive as you might think. But he's good in the passing game, so he's a complete back. Was he doubtful or what? I mean, was he questionable for the game? So I don't know.
He was, and then, but my understanding, he's ready to go.
Okay.
For him, that he's.
I would think we'd see a pretty good dose of both of those guys, as long as Swift is feeling okay. But I just don't know what to expect from Detroit with the new coach and the new quarterback, and I mean, everything's just so new. You're a lot better off catching them now than 3 months from now, right? Because they're still just getting a feel for things and implementing the offense and all that.
Yeah. So lastly, we've seen two weeks of NFC North and NFC football. And I don't know, I think this thing is going to be really wide open in the NFC. The North, I mean, if the Packers get their act together, they look like the team to beat for sure. But the NFC looks kind of interesting. Dallas had a huge win down in LA. And, San Francisco looks good. I don't know. What do you make of it? Yeah,
I picked San Francisco to go to the Super Bowl, actually. And they have guys dropping left to right again, more on defense this year. So, we'll see how that goes. Obviously, Tampa looks really strong to start with, and Brady's playing great. Now, the one thing is, you just don't know how these teams are going to look in December, and maybe this is the year Tampa gets hit by a couple of key injuries on defense, and that takes a lot of the bite out of them. I just think of, it's a different sport, but I think of the Bucks, and if it was 3/4 of the way through that season, if you would have made me bet on who's going to win the NBA, I'd have gone Brooklyn without thinking twice. Well, they had the two big injuries to their stars, and lo and behold, the Bucks played, really got their stuff together for the stretch run and played great, and they won it all. So we don't know what these teams are going to look like in 3 months, and injuries are a much bigger factor, much more common and easily come across in the NFL than they are in the NBA. So Tampa's hot start, I'm sure they feel great about it, but we don't know what their roster is going to look like come December, January.
Yeah, 6 quarterbacks got hurt on Sunday, which is just got to scare the heck out of everybody and probably make Cam Newton feel pretty good. But it's always a game of attrition, and that's the way it's going to be for the Packers. They've been very lucky with injuries. Lastly, it looks like it'll be a nice big crowd. First time we've seen that here. Other than a preseason game, you expect that to be a factor at all?
I get the sense just talking to people, this is probably one of the least loud stadiums in the league. I'm sure the configuration has something to do with it. They're building all these new places purposely. I think everybody's taking their cue from Seattle, which built, the overhangs specifically to make the noise reverberate. And so I think all these new stadiums are doing that, and that's one thing Lambeau won't have. So I don't know if the crowd noise will be that big, but the atmosphere, it was, it felt just like 2 years ago out there, just coming from, driving up to the stadium, coming from my car to, into the office here, into the stadium. So it's there's definitely a buzz about it. Interesting, though, that the tickets were so cheap from what I was reading. You could get them below, from what I saw on Twitter, it looked like you could get them below face value. So the really poor start last week, and then, I'm sure there are still plenty of people with COVID concerns. Combine those two things, and it was an opponent that's not a big name opponent, and the tickets were a lot easier to come by for this one.
Yeah, well, you're discounting the big wall of sound. That's that south end zone. It's supposed to be the wall of sound. Everything's supposed to reverberate through there. So, what do you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm looking down at the stadium, and there's a pretty good contingent of Lions fans lined up behind the Lions bench. So that speaks to your comment about the ticket prices, and who knows how that's going to be this season.
One thing I've noticed, I'm sure you have too, in the last, 4 or 5 years tops, there are always a lot more visiting fans than there used to be. When the Bears would play here, you could always hear them. Maybe the Vikings, you could probably hear those. Now, no matter who they play, when something good happens for whoever the road team is, you can hear that portion of the crowd. I'm guessing every game's got at least, 5 to 10% visiting fans. I think it's just because of ticket brokers, and they're just easier to get, and people are ponying up, and this is a destination stadium for good reason. But I'm sure the ticket price does make it easier and it's a short trip too, a shorter trip from, Detroit as opposed to, a West Coast team or Kansas City or somebody in the Northeast.
Yeah. All right, so we'll wrap it up. One thing to look for late in the game is rain. They're talking about possible big storms coming through here late. So that'll be interesting. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed. There's no
I didn't
delays.
see, was there lightning in that forecast? That would be the last thing we need.
Thunderstorms, yeah. I have a 2 a.m. close. So, like bar close. So after 2 a.m., I'm out of here.
You're shutting it down?
You better be done by then.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, right?
That's right. So we'll keep our fingers crossed it ends on time. Anyway, for Pete, I'm Tom. Thanks to everybody for joining us. Be sure you join me on the live blog on JS Online and Packers News. I'll be getting started here in about 15 minutes. And all our stories and videos will be on Packers News. So be sure you tune into all of those after the game. And so we will see you next time. Take care, everyone.